I haven't been a supporter of Cardinal George Pell throughout. What I have been in favour of is looking at the evidence, because this was one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in Australian history. A lot of people today should be ashamed of their role in the persecution, the witch hunting and the jailing for 404 days of an innocent man. It's not just this is a case, you know, legal technicalities is won in the end. This is one where the charges were inherently implausible, and yet they were believed, and voices that spoke against this conviction were hounded down. It is a disgrace, and we will have a long accounting about this, or we should. Victoria Police, for going through a trawling exercise looking for complaints against Cardinal Pell, which previous miscarriages of justice have said was exactly the kind of process where you do lead to people getting false memories or coming forward with false accusations. The Victorian Court of Appeal, which in a 2-to-1 decision threw out Pell's initial claim for an appeal, they too must be looking at their own conscience as to why they did so. And of course there's the media, not least the ABC, which spoke as one voice against George Pell, and to this very morning were making false accusations against him. There was a witch hunt in this country, and we need to look at why we let that happen, how many institutions were part of it, and why so few people spoke up in defence of a man, as I say, who is innocent, who could not have committed the crimes as alleged. And I think this is, some people say, a great day for justice because justice won out in the end. I say, wait. Here is a man whose career has been ruined, whose reputation has been ruined, who probably cannot go out in safety because of these false accusations, and has had his savings completely gone. His friends have had to dig deep in process after process to defend him. Their money won't be returned. And he has spent 404 days in jail for a crime that he could not possibly have committed.
Andrew, you at one stage went to St Patrick's Cathedral to sort of walk through the prosecution's case as to what was alleged to have happened and the timelines and so on. Can you talk us through the specifics of what his defence team was saying was unlikely, why the improbability they put forward was upheld today by the High Court?
Now, I should preface it by saying we don't know the terms yet, or I haven't read the judgment yet, as to exactly why the High Court has quashed the decision and what was going through its mind. But certainly during the appeal process in the High Court, a lot of effort, a lot of attention was given to the mechanics, whether this rape could really have occurred in the manner alleged by the prosecution.
Andrew, let me interrupt you. I'll read from this judgment for you because it's Kieran. I just want to, because we've got explicitly detail on what you're going to here, and the High Court in its unanimous judgment said that the unchallenged evidence of the opportunity witnesses was inconsistent with the complainant's account and described, one, that the applicant's practice of greeting congregants on the or near the cathedral steps after a solemn mass. 2, the established and historical Catholic Church practice that required that the applicant, as an archbishop, always be accompanied when robed in the cathedral. And 3, the continuous traffic in and out of the priest's sacristy for 10 to 15 minutes after the conclusion of the procession. The court held that, on the assumption that the jury had assessed the complainant's evidence as thoroughly credible and reliable, the evidence of the opportunity witnesses nonetheless required the jury, acting rationally, to have entertained a reasonable doubt as to the applicant's guilt in relation to the offences involved in both alleged incidents. Andrew.
It's important you read that to me, Kieran. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to have heard that because it goes to what I'm about to say. There was one accuser alone, unsupported, against George Pell, who claimed that George Pell raped him and another boy straight after Mass that George Pell had himself given, in a room where the priests normally disrobe and where the sacred objects from the Mass are then stored after the Mass. Now, Pell, that accuser said 2 guys at once. The other person alleged to have been raped, who's now dead, said he had not been raped. So that was already one strange thing. The evidence unchallenged in the trial was that Pell was always accompanied by the MC of the Mass, Monsignor Charles Portelli, who never took his eye off him. This was church practice. There were witnesses that said Pell was at the front of the cathedral straight after the Mass greeting parishioners. Anyone who's been to Mass knows that's generally what priests do. End the Mass, go to the front, say hello, thank you for coming, hello, thank you for coming. The evidence was that Pell normally spent, 20 minutes there, maybe 10, but usually 20 minutes. But the only time that he could have raped those boys was in the 5 to 6 minutes, and the prosecution agreed with this, straight after Mass. So the choir leaves, including the 2 choir boys allegedly raped. They leave, and then there's a quiet time, 5 or 6 minutes, people are allowed to do their private prayer, and then people start moving the objects to the change rooms where the rapes were alleged to have occurred. Now, obviously, when they do that, there can't be anyone in there raping boys because they'd be interrupted. But Pell was at that very time outside the cathedral, according to witnesses, talking to people. And the accuser himself, and this is what I found walking around the cathedral, he said he was in the choir processional going back to the change rooms. It would have taken him between 5 and 6 minutes himself to make that procession, double back, re-enter the cathedral, hunt around, go into the change rooms. He said then, look in the cupboards, find some altar wine, drink it, and then Pell arrives. The rape could not have happened as claimed, and that is the issue that came very much to the fore and got the prosecutor very much unstuck in the second day of the 2 days of the High Court appeal hearings.